We met working at an arts agency back in 2010.
Andrew and Amrita soon became friends bound by creativity.
We became friends at work, but really quickly discovered that we had a lot of similar creative ethos and really had wanted to do the same things in New York.
As the years passed, they began to wonder if they could create a family together based on their terms.
It was a natural evolution. We didn't start into, saying, what, do you want to have children or what do you want your life to look like? But by the time we had been friends for a number of years, all of those late nights, early mornings, coffee chats amounted to a really understanding that maybe we could build a life together.
COVID lockdown pushed the process, and while using an at-home artificial insemination kit, they took a chance and got pregnant.
It was a little bit surreal, honestly, and I think that sort of continued on throughout, up until the baby actually came.
Here to share more about their life as platonic life partners and how they're raising their son. Please welcome Amrita and Andrew to DBL.
Thank you for having us.
Very excited.
Quick correction, Stevens. Andrew Stevens. I want to give you that proper introduction.
We appreciate that. Names are important here. Amrita, hello. So you and Andrew have been friends for a long time. I want to know, how did your families respond to the news that y'all were having a baby together?
They were thrilled, in short. And of course, there were questions and concerns that came up along the way, which I think is really natural. I think it's really understandable for there to be questions when you're doing something in a way that's sort of outside of the norm. I think our parents, though, at the end of the day, really understand that our priority is to raise a healthy and happy family, and that's really the baseline of it.
Love it.
That's absolutely the baseline of that. All right, so for the other side now, what about the people who are more critical and think kids should see a traditional and romantic relationship? What would you say to that?
Well, I think it's all about what it means to be a successful parent. And for us, successful parenting looks like providing a stable and loving environment for our son. And of course, families can take all kinds of different shapes and forms and configurations. We all know that. And at the end of the day, our son, has loving and committed parents, extended family, and also a community of friends that are really devoted to his well-being and nurturing him.
I love this so much. So Andrew, you are roommates and split baby duties and chores 50-50. So how has your dynamic helped you both adjust to parenthood?
So we came to parenthood after years of being close friends, as you've seen, and also business partners. And in those, while it's very different from parenting, it's also helped us to practice communication, negotiation, making expectations clear. And I think we brought that that open communication into our parenting style.
And Andrew, you and Amrita both still date. So how do you tell your potential partners about your situation?
Many people with children date. We're open and honest from the very beginning about that. Our first priority is our family and our child. But I think a lot of people watching who have children and are dating can relate to that. It's what you start off with, and if it's a break, it's a break.
And have you guys discussed, if you get into a serious relationship, how that would change your current living and parenting dynamic? What advice would you give?
I'm not sure we could give advice, but I will say for us, what we've decided to do and what we're committed to doing is living close by, if not together, for the entirety of our child or children's life. That's just a non-negotiable. A romantic relationship may or may not mean that we live apart one day. But that's a decision for...
Yeah, it depends on the person that we were dating. It depends on how we feel about it. It depends on how our kids might feel about it, And I think any decision that we make about a potential romantic partner, that's the first and foremost thing, as Andrew said, is our child's happiness. So that's, a sacrifice that we might have to make, but that's one that we'll willingly make if we get to that point.
What a healthy relationship you do have. What an example.
I asked the young people in our studio, and they're like, yeah, this is the future.
Well, yeah, especially if you're as openly communicative as these two are.
Yeah, Tori talks to the young people.
Amrita and Andrew, thank you so much for joining us, for sharing your story. DBL Nation, to hear more of their beautiful story, you can listen to Andrew and Amrita's podcast, Don't Think Twice, on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Thank you again.